Let's get into it, Sean. So, first we have to set this up for people that might not be familiar, even though I think almost everybody is familiar. So there's a gentleman by the name of Jim Cornette, and there's another gentleman by the name of Vince Russo. Jim Cornette was a very well-known wrestling manager. In the 1980s, he managed the Midnight Express, very well-known.
Come on, everybody watching this knows who Jim Cornette is.
Yeah, but I like to set it up for the casuals because, like, my wife doesn't really know. She knows a little, but not a lot, right? I like to set it up for the casual, Sean. All right, be patient.
Don't take 10 minutes doing it, Jimmy.
I do it in 30 seconds. Relax.
I doubt it. I doubt
Where's your Monster Energy drink? Take a sip of your Monster Energy drink. All right, that'll calm you down. Good, good, good. So anyway, in the 90s, he worked for WWE on television and behind the scenes. Later on for Impact Wrestling, later on for Ring of Honor, and he had his own promotion called Smoky Mountain. And then Vince Russo, of course, was a writer for WWE, went on to WCW, went on to Impact Wrestling. Those two have had a hate-on for years. And you can probably understand why, right? I mean, Cornette is kind of the old-school, traditional kind of mindset for wrestling. Russo was the more progressive, if you want to call it that, more controversial mind. One's from the South, one's from the Northeast. I don't know if that made a difference, but that's just a fact. And
the irony is the one from the South is the hardcore Democrat. The one from the North is pretty conservative.
Right. Oh,
the irony.
Cornette is without question the catalyst in this feud because he's the one that's been the most vocal. And if you go on YouTube and if you do a search for Jim Cornette, Vince Russo, there's all kinds of like podcast clips and some Comic-Con type things where Cornette did a speech or whatever, where he talks a lot of shit about Vince Russo. And Russo has said some things about Cornette too. This came out recently again because Cornette did an episode of Table for Three for the WWE Network alongside Michael Hayes and Eric Bischoff. And Cornette went off about Russo because Eric Bischoff also doesn't care much for Vince Russo from their time together in WCW and in Impact, I guess. Russo then responded to the Table for Three segment by cutting a supposed apology on YouTube to Jim Cornette that wasn't really an apology because he was shitting on Jim Cornette.
He swerved him.
Yeah, he swerved him, yeah, but he called it an apology. So what happened was this week I said to Sean, we were talking about this whole thing and how they've gone back and forth. And I said to Sean, do you think it would draw if I could get these guys to do a debate? And Sean said, yeah, I think it would. And I said, do you think they'd be interested? And you and I both agreed that Russo would probably do it if he was paid. He'd probably do it. Cornette was the one that we weren't so sure about. And the other thing that we didn't know is what would be his magic number? Let's say he was interested.
Well, let me cut you off. A lot of people are like, oh, yeah, sure you didn't know. The numbers that Jimmy threw out to me, now his introductory numbers were very realistic for something of this. This wasn't like something that he just tossed out. He was asking me, would you be able to go to a neutral location? Would you be able to moderate this? How would we distribute it? How would we get it out there? Like, this was a real conversation.
Yeah, this was real.
This was like not just some, oh, we're going to offer CM Punk $1 million to do our tournament that's going to get canceled. And it was a very good possibility because Jim Cornette lives in Louisville. Right now, Vince Russo lives in Indiana. I've heard somebody posted on our forum saying he might be moving back to Colorado. I don't know anything about that. So that's a very realistic thing. That's a Monday afternoon trip for me. I can do that, no problem.
Yeah.
And I do know that Sean Oliver has made this offer before of kayfabe commentaries, and Cornette turned him down. But, you know, since then, I mean, Jim Cornette Vince Russo is his content, by and large.
And again, I didn't want to be offensive to anybody or insulting in terms of the price. I didn't know where to start. But this was legitimate, and I even said to Sean, I said, what would be his magic number? Do you think it'd be $5 grand? Do you think it'd be 10 grand? Do you think it'd be more than 10 grand? We didn't know. The only way to know was to hit him up. And so I sent Jim Cornette an email on Monday, June 12th. He responded to me that evening. I'm going to read my email to him, and I'm going to read his email back to me. And then I can't wait to see your. So I got to tell you, Sean, when I got this email back, okay, I chuckled and smiled through it. I don't know if everybody would have chuckled and smiled if they got an email like this. And I tease you.
Oh no.
I tease you about your sensitivity because you are hypersensitive, right? So I tease you about your sensitivity. I don't know if you would have smiled and chuckled if you got an email.
I probably
like
would
this.
have coming from Jim Cornette if it was what I think it was in response to this.
But I thought it was funny, and I'm not offended at all.
I'll say this:
So,
the few times I've interacted with Jim Cornette, I've met him. And it was very nice to me in person.
Right.
So I don't know if a lot of this is persona or what, but we'll get into that, how I feel about that, how you feel about that. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to read my email to him first because I want to make sure that nothing is taken out of context. So here's my email to him first. And I kept it pretty short. So first I say, "Hi, Jim. My name is James Vanderlinden. I own a wrestling/MMA site called Fightful.com, and I do a podcast on Wednesdays under the alias Jimmy Van." That's my intro. Nice and simple, right? I don't think it's arrogant. I don't think it was pompous. It was pretty cordial. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do.
Then I get to the matter. I said, "This rivalry with you and Vince Russo continues to pique the interest of online wrestling fans, and so I was wondering if you would consider doing a live debate with him if it was a paid booking. Not sure what the magic number would be for you. Would it be $5,000? Would it be $10,000? But I'm open to it if you are. I'd bring you guys together, nothing physical, of course, just a verbal debate, and stream it. Let me know your thoughts. If this is of zero interest to you, then I understand." That was it, right? Yeah. Again, not pompous, not rude, right? It's cordial.
Basically not how you speak to me on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's not how I did not call him fucko. That didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Something tells me that he may have called you that.
I didn't say, "Sean," I didn't say, "Jim, how's your mother?" You know, it was nothing like that. It was nice and cordial. He responded, and here's what he said. He said, and there was no hi, Jimmy, hi, nothing like that. He said, "I really was just going to delete this, but I stopped because I had to tell you what a raving fucking lunatic you must be to think that I would work with, cooperate with, or tolerate the existence of in any way that miserable fucking piece of shit for $1 million, much less 5 or 10K. Not only do I have zero interest, but you have to be out of your flippin' mind to think that I will have anything to do with him unless it's standing over him with a bat bashing his fucking brains into grape jelly. Fuck you for even writing this to me." And that was it. That was it. So he actually told me, "Fuck you for even writing this to me," and called me a raving fucking lunatic. Now, So I have to say here, okay? I have never met Jim Cornette. I've never met Jim Cornette. We have never corresponded before. He doesn't know me, and I don't know him.
Fucking jelly. Fucking jelly.
So that email that I sent him that I thought was cordial and polite, that was his response, okay? That was his response. So I guess the bad news is, and as you can see, I'm able to smile through it, and I'm not offended. I think it's funny. The bad news is he's not going to do the debate, Sean.